So, a little bit about me. I'm Dr. Tamsin Lewis. I'm a medical doctor, fully trained, King's College in London. I trained separately in neuroscience and the biology of aging back in the day when I was at medical school, and then became fascinated in brain and brain-based or brain-driven behaviour. Arguably all of it is brain-driven. And I trained additionally in psychiatry, so I trained to registrar level in psychiatry. During that time, I was also doing a lot of sport, and I got picked to be part of the Great Britain triathlon team. This was just before the Olympics in around 2010, and so was immersed in a whole world of sport and performance and physiology. And through that, I found a niche in consulting people who wanted to feel and function better and perform better. And this was before sort of wellness and tracking your blood or tracking your sleep or any of it was even, we weren't even really talking about it. So I was an early adopter of a lot of these tools and techniques which we'll talk about today in that biohacking realm, as it were. And subsequently I set up a company which is now known as Wellgevity, which is what it says on here, which is essentially two things. It's a concierge practice which does a lot of hand-holding of people, preventative health screening, team of doctors, screening, and a lot of it is support, coaching of people, couples, families. And then we're also working on a new joint venture with Founders Forum called Founders Health, which is looking to provide a credible and affordable longevity solution and programs, which will hopefully go to a global entrepreneurial audience. So yeah, that's a bit about me. I also had long COVID, which I mentioned only in that it changed my life and made me more obsessed with trying to look after myself a bit better, because I came at that from an athlete mindset of you can just keep pushing through, and as we'll talk about a bit tonight, pushing through at all costs, there's always a consequence. There's no biological free lunch. So that's a little bit about anecdote there. And Simon, tell us a little bit about you.
And you didn't mention you're 150, so it's all working.
Oh yeah, I also did, I don't like to sing my book, but I learned a lot from it. I won Ironman UK triathlon as a professional in 2014, which was a tough day out, but a very memorable one.
Does anyone know about mushrooms? Is anyone fans of mushrooms here? Right.
Anyone have mushrooms right now?
Yeah, right. Anyone drinking my mushrooms right now? And anyone drinking the other mushrooms right now? Okay, so I don't know if does anyone know about Dirteas? Any dirty lovers here? Anyone who drinks dirties? Or any hands up? One here. This is great. Okay, so my brother and I, we co-founded Dirtea. It's a functional mushroom experience. These are mushrooms that when they are extracted to their powder form, they are incredibly bioavailable, but the moment you drink them, they've been shown to increase your focus, your concentration, improve your immune system, and give you better quality sleep, and also give you amazing energy. These are functional foods. They're not medicine, but unfortunately for what it's worth, mushrooms have been littered in so much misconception. There's actually a word for it today, which is called mycophobia, which is the irrational fear of mushrooms. So maybe that's why your hands didn't shoot up too quickly. But the reality is we are so closely aligned with mushrooms. We share up to about 54% DNA with mushrooms. So when you're consuming these, you're consuming nothing more than your ancestors. But for my brother and...
Before brains came in.
Yeah. But for my brother and I, we have a company prior to this, and it was about supporting entrepreneurs, people with great ideas. We found ways to take their vision and scale it quick. And we've had some amazing success, but the success in the founders. But the one thing where there was success and failure in the founders was their well-being. They'd put their business before their well-being. And they couldn't really lead their team because they disconnected the idea of being the CEO of their own body. And my brother and I would see it, and we would never go to a doctor if we felt ill. But I think from our parents' generation, there's this really easy idea is that if you do feel under the weather, the idea is to go and see your GP, your most trusted source. But the unfortunate thing there, and forgive me, I know this is your area, so you could challenge me, but the bandwidth of time is limited. The bandwidth of knowledge is really a book of a few conventional medicines. Anything else that's about lifestyle, about a community, what one eats, it's not really paid attention in these moments. So unfortunately, it's diagnosed adios from these doctors. And certainly for a lot of my friends and my family, and certainly the people we are working with, They would take a pill so they could just sleep better or lower the anxiety, but that doesn't cure the system. That just kind of wraps a bandage around it. But the wildfire is still ripping, and the problem was that a lot of our friends were still going through these moments of anxiety and stress. The epiphany for my brother and I is we've always steeped heavily into ancestral wisdom, looking at what did our ancestors do all those years ago to adapt to stress. And one thing that kept coming up was mushrooms, and it's quite interesting because these have been ignored for many years, but these are Mother Nature's most sacred ingredients. So about 6 years ago, my brother and I started experimenting with these functional mushrooms, extracting them to powder forms, drinking these mushrooms, because we were going through sleep deprivation and all these other things, because, you know, sleep is redundant when you're building a business or building an idea. But the most extraordinary thing happened was that our sleep was back on point. We had more focus, no brain fog. Our immune system felt like it was intact. You know, health isn't just the absence of disease. It's the complete it's the complete, what's the word? The complete state of physical, mental, and social state of mind. And these are what the mushrooms showed us. So my brother and I started this about 2 years ago. We became a viral sensation, or Dirtea became a viral sensation within 3 or 4 months of starting. We're now leading the world in this mushroom beverage experience, and many people are healing. And those who have, I don't know if anyone has the symptoms of ADHD or anything at all, but many people do. People are drinking our lion's mane and they're coming off their medication. I know we realize we're filming this, I'm not supposed to say this kind of stuff, but people are steeping into these functional foods and they're feeling that they have greater focus. And so for my brother and I, this is more than a company. This is a purpose and this is a movement, and we are leading it. And really the mission is to bring mushrooms to the mass. That's us.
Masses.
Masses.
Really interesting that you got to mushrooms throughout all the supplement industry. Everyone seems to have a cure in the supplement industry for every ill, including sleep. And so the fact that you've used, as you call, functional foods to really help all different systems of the body.
It has, and there's one thing I didn't say also, and then we'll go to you. It is the fact that what it does do, it actually forces the idea to live a very different life. Because you can be drinking this and still, you know, getting caught up in this 9 to 5 and not really looking after your mind and body. But we've created this Dirtea tribe, and this tribe of people have come together, like-minded people who are feeling the fact that they are being healed, and they're very curious about what are the other things that do exist that can improve mind and body, and it's actually allowing them to live a more purposely driven life, which is a fascinating thing.
So are these like meetups you hold? I've seen you in the Serpentine.
Yes.
Yeah.
Lake. We go there, usually 6:30 in the morning.
Freezing cold.
In the freezing cold.
And you all warm up.
You haven't come, Danny hasn't come still, which is a shame. But we tend to get together. We have an amazing Dirtea mushroom ceremony. We sip the tea. We have a meditation. We do breath work. We've got an amazing breath work master, and we go for a swim. And it's amazing to do something that the body's telling you not to do. Stepping into the unknown together as one is a wonderful experience. So we do loads of different experiences, but this is more than, it's not just a transactional experience. Beyond the sipping, people are feeling something quite profound, and that's why I think Dirtea is where it is at the moment today.
Well, there's plenty of research to show that it's doing what you say it's doing, which is exciting. People are finally studying these functional foods. So. Yeah.
There is, and if I can say, the only problem is there is a lot of research, but unfortunately the research isn't strong enough, they say. So one of the great kind of pillars to Dirtea is really funding further research, clinical studies, to really prove that these functional foods are improving the mind and the body of many.
Tell us a little bit, just before we introduce Dan and go on to Dan's story, tell me a little bit about how the different types of mushrooms actually work. How do you think they work?
So, I wish I had, has anyone tried any of the Dirtea in there at all? I'll try, yes. With wine or separately?
First coffee, then wine.
Okay. Well, there's 4.
Polyphenols in both.
Yes. So success. There's one mushroom that we led with first. It's called lion's mane. I don't know if anyone knows lion's mane. Okay. This is also known as a smart mushroom. This is what buckles the mind. This mushroom has a compound in it called Hericium eranescens. Eranescens is light enough to break through the brain-blood barrier and synthesize the growth of new brain cells in the hippocampus, and repair nerve damage. And we've had many reports coming back of those who feel a sense of greater focus, better memory recall. That's lion's mane. You have chaga, which has the highest source of antioxidants compared to anything else in Mother Nature. So it's incredibly good for the immune system. You have cordyceps, which is also known as the energy mushroom. It has a compound called cordycepin, which actually plays a pivotal role in upregulating your energy levels. It almost acts like a precursor for your ATP. So many who do drink cordyceps, and we're just talking about VO2 max, those who drink it tend to go beyond their conventional means in certain endurance training, whether it be cycling or training in any capacity. Then you have reishi, which is also known as a calm mushroom. It's one of the most researched mushrooms in the world, and I'm drinking it at the moment. And just by drinking it, it's got a compounder there which almost instantaneously calms the nervous system down. So whatever it is you do day to day, there is a mushroom to support you from 9 to 5, from sunrise to sunset.
It's very cool, isn't it? I think they've all grown up in nature, and they look incredible. The lion's mane mushroom actually looks like a lion's head.
Yes.
Yeah.
Nature's art, they call it, and it's hidden. But the idea is when you walk into a forest, it's amazing once you do experience Dirtea. When you start drinking the mushrooms, you start to see what the eye tends to ignore. It's a wonderful experience, really is.
I hear that we're going to be doing more of those experiences in London. So we're going to see pop-ups of places like VR or where you can be immersed in nature space but not actually be in nature space.
Yeah.
So you're going to be sipping your nootropic brain-stimulating mushroom tea, probably with a ketone on the side, and then you're going to go into this immersive experience, also that you can feel calm and relaxed and offset the rest of your day, which is being on a computer under artificial light.
Yeah.
Hello, Dan.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Great, thank you.
So we've known each other a few years now. Met through a mutual friend who was going to be here tonight, the founder of Calm, and also Pete Ward, who set up Humanity, which is a very interesting company.
What a grandiose statement. He just set up humanity.
Set up a whole
He's
of
God.
humanity.
We're friends with God.
Health for humanity. And you've been in this health and wellness space for a while, but like all of us here, have a story about why you developed what is now Heights, which is a leading supplement company which has a blend of multivitamins and also nootropic support to help brain health.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about your story and how you got personally to thinking about setting up a supplement company to improve our brains.
Worth saying I was in tech. Didn't know anything about supplements or health other than my dad died and he was like really sick for most of my life, and I've always been interested in health, but as a result I was quite unhealthy, fat, lonely, depressed, loads of mental health problems, working in tech, running a mobile company, and I went through this experience of having insomnia. And I've had many different multiple mental health challenges, a whole gamut of them. And I think, anxiety particularly is one where you can brush it off because actually just if you're really fucking busy, you've had too much coffee, it kind of feels like anxiety, or every day as an entrepreneur feels like anxiety. And
anxiety drives you to some extent.
Totally. And I think there's being an entrepreneur is weird anyway. And, if you think about what anxiety is, it's literally like percolating in your mind over the future. I mean, that's literally an entrepreneur's job. Like, what do you think a business plan is? It's all made up. You're trying to make up the future. So, you're manifesting a reality that isn't quite there, essentially living in a logical life, wondering why things aren't going up and to the right. Like this chart said it would, that I spent ages in Excel making it do that. Now the company isn't doing that. So you live this anxiety-induced life. But insomnia was the worst thing I ever had. I went on a whole journey to try and fix it. I had it for 6 months. It was a really long time not sleep. And it was interestingly the first time in my life when actually everything was going well. So it was really annoying. I'd met a girl who's now my wife, and I was very happy with my 2 adorable cats. My business was finally going well, like all these things. And then I got insomnia. It was so irritating. So I went everywhere. Obviously started at the doctor. Doctor gave me sleeping pills. It was like, how do these go with the, SSRIs? Do these go well with that kind of medication?
Short-term solution,
I don't actually think that's probably going to solve anything for me. So I didn't. I pursued trying to fix what was going on. went to psychiatrists, went to sleep therapists, obviously spoke to Michael a bunch, like all sorts of calm meditations, tried to get him to personally talk me to sleep. Didn't happen. Came close though. And I, after a while, was having dinner with a friend who knows, just random friend, knows nothing really about this space, and she was like, have you read much about brain health? And I was like, no, I mean, last time I checked, I'm in my 30s. Why the fuck would I read about brain health? Like, I'm not going senile. And she was like, well, you know, sounds to me like you have a mental health problem. And I was like, whoa, I've had loads of mental health problems. This isn't one. She's like, well, you can't sleep. What's that called? I'm like, but insomnia, it's not really a and as I'm saying it, I'm like, okay, she's kind of got a point here, fair enough. She's like, I think you should go see a dietitian. And I was like, what is a dietitian? Genuinely, I had no idea what a dietitian was because I'd heard of nutritionists and I knew all of this kind of nutritionist type stuff, but learned that a dietitian is somewhere you go, you know, to cure sickness with food. Nutritionists tend to be for healthy people to help you get healthier, and dietitians tend to be for unwell people, try to treat you with nutrition and food. So I thought it was really interesting, and I went to a dietitian and told her my whole experience, and she was very, very, very quickly confident that I needed to take 3 specific supplements, which were omega-3, DHA omega-3, blueberry extract, and B vitamin complex. And her reasons were DHA omega-3, your brain is essentially made of omega-3s, 60% fat, 90% of that fat is that compound DHA. And she was like, imagine essentially your house is bricks. Most of those bricks should be DHA. Sounds like there's an imbalance there, and so they've been replaced with polystyrene, and you're getting, you know, your house is on fire and you're getting warning signs essentially because you've got insomnia. You're not able to sleep. This tends to be your body telling you in a very serious way, I'm not going to let you go to sleep until you go sort this out. So she's like, that's one thing. The B vitamin complex was for regulating my energy, and blueberry extract is a really potent antioxidant and would help, as she said, clean out my glymphatic system, which of course meant nothing to me. It just means car wash for my brain. She dumbed it down for me. And she was very specific about what types of supplements I could get. So she sent me to Planet Organic when I was like, Jesus Christ, I'm running a startup, love. Like, send me to Boots. But she sent me to Planet Organic and was very specific. And I spent £120 on 3 supplements. I was like, who knew that that's how much supplements cost? I thought they were like, you know, 99p deal, all of them. What's the difference? Turns out quite a lot of difference. Yeah. And took them and slept that night for the first time in like 6 months, and mind blown completely. And went back to her, I was like, how is this the case? What's happened? And she was very exasperated. She was like, so many people come to you with mental health problems, often a nutritional imbalance, often nutrition problems. Your brain, your gut, they need proper feeding. And it set me off on a journey.
And what were the supplements that she gave you, the 3?
God, I don't even remember. I do have the photo of the receipt though. As in...
Who shares the story? It's
Well,
got to
do
be
you know-
omega-3, B vitamin and magnesium maybe.
No, but do you know why? No, as in it was omega-3, blueberry extract and B
Beets.
vitamin complex, yeah.
Wow, it's crazy that had an immediate benefit.
Massive benefit and continued to work. So that's what was ridiculous. I'll tell you what was, to the receipt point, I eventually brought in the founder of Planet Organic as one of my really early customers and then investors because I showed her the receipt and was like, this is ridiculous. And she's been one of our longest serving customers. Her and her husband and her 3 kids, all Heights customers ever since, which is hilarious because she gets free supplements from her own company, buys ours. Love that story. And she's gone on camera to tell it, so I don't feel bad saying it because she's like quite comfortable with it. Yeah. Anyway, fast forward. I met a lady called Dr. Tara Swart, who is an amazing neuroscientist, and we became really good friends. And I pitched her the idea of starting a business together, and you know, creating this product and all this kind of stuff. I started writing a newsletter because she introduced me to the concept of neuroplasticity, which I'd never heard of before, and really loved the idea that you could change your brain by behaving how you intentionally wanted to be, who you intentionally wanted to be, and just being really deliberate about things. Like, you're talking to someone who was just really unhappy and unwell in general. So I got really into this idea of like, you know, manifesting a positive future and just getting better at stuff. So I started writing a newsletter under the idea of if I just if I read science papers every week and then I rewrite them in, common millennial language, aka GIFs, and I send that every Sunday, I will go through a learning process week by week, which will basically take me through a deliberate process of neuroplasticity to understand brain health. I won't be a credible scientist. I never will be. I'm fucking rubbish at such things, but I'm good at creating. I'm a good entrepreneur. I'm really interested in science. So it's like, know your skills, know the level at which I need to understand my topic of expertise. But I came at it from a point of view of, this is what I'm learning. This is what I'm learning this week. This is what I'm sharing. So no expert, like rookie, but trying to understand this stuff and make it legible to other people. Fast forward a year, we launched January the 6th, 2020, straight into a pandemic, which was very stressful for a while, and then like everyone kind of just worked out how to make it work. And sort of similar to Simon, we got loads of good luck and good hits. Became the supplement of choice for lots of very famous people very quickly, and with lots of people want to know about all of our scientific research, etc., which takes a long time to build up, which we now have. And at the time they wanted it, unfortunately, really luckily, Stephen Fry became one of our first customers and became a huge advocate. And people stopped giving a shit about the science. They were like, oh, Stephen Fry, okay, fine.
Yeah.
So it was a really interesting learning. And then we had Stephen Bartlett, and then I went on his podcast, and then it went viral. And it's been very much sort of interesting journey on two sides, where we've been trying to build up a credible scientific base of creating good research around our products. Getting into, Simon and I talk about this a lot, frustrating space in the UK. You can build up as much research as you like. You can't actually really market much of it, even if you have evidence, if you're a supplement or functional food, unless you're a pharmaceutical. You just can't really tell anyone. So our approach, we've since launched a probiotic. We spent 2.5 years developing that. We have exceptional research on the quality of the probiotic and how efficacious it is. And we can't really tell consumers, but the good news is we can tell health journalists. We can tell science professionals, and we can tell medical professionals. So that's been our approach with this, actually. They want to, as you know, health professionals, generally speaking, really care about their patients. They don't have loads of time, but they really care about their patients. So if you go in with a bold claim like, we're actually better than the stuff you're currently promoting, and we have the evidence from the labs that you trust, they'll obviously think you're bullshitting, but they might give you 5 minutes. And if you can prove that you actually have that data and work with them, it's starting to make some inroads. So we found quite an interesting space right now with on the consumer space, figuring out that people just like famous people and trust them, and just not to push too hard, like water uphill on the other side. And on the background, the credible space, we're now actually working on quite a long research project with UCL, which would be really, really interesting in brain and gut health.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
So 2 separate projects, or on using the 2 different supplements?
brain gut axis on probiotic.
Okay,
Yeah.
So not using the other supplement?
No.
So tell us a little bit about Heights, the mainstay supplement, not the probiotic. And tell us.
We have 2 products. So we do things very slowly at Heights on purpose. So actually, very randomly, I was going to tell an anecdote, and someone that I got talking to earlier, there he is, protecting the room. One of his colleagues went to a supplement industry event 2 days ago. I sent my colleagues to this event 2 days ago just to see their reaction. Basically, to create a supplement is the easiest thing in the world. I sent them there so they could see how fucking hard we make our lives on purpose. So this event was essentially, you can go and they've got every supplement, every gummy, magnesium, like you name a supplement is there. Your logo here, your brand here. You can have an Airwallex CBD gummy, if you want, up and live to consumers next week, and as long as you're good at marketing, off to the races. So we sent our team just to make them a bit sick and shock them, which worked brilliantly. They've never been so motivated to work at Heights ever. But that's the supplement industry for you. It's really easy. The whole thing is set up that way. We have the weird benefit of being complete outsiders to the industry. Like me and my business partner, Joel, we know nothing about this space. And that means that we took all of the approaches that you don't take. So our first product, which we developed with Tara. So, we went to one of the world's best neuroscientists and said, what would the best brain health supplement literally be? What would literally be in that? And she gave us a very complicated, difficult answer. And then we brought in our head of nutrition, Sophie Medlins, also from King's, and got her involved. And, you know, as soon as you ask these two people what they'd actually put their name to and promote, and therefore actually, you know, asking really credible health professionals to put their name to a supplement, it's got to be fucking good, because there's no coming back from it if it's not, you know? So anyway, they made our life very hard, brilliantly. It took us 1.5 years to bring out one product, and our probiotic 2.5 years to bring out just a second product. And the thesis and the reason that we have is we invested a lot of money into creating a patented capsule. So delayed release technology of the capsule, our core first product, which is called Vitals, when you have vitamins, they need to get into your bloodstream. When you have probiotics, they need to get to your colon. And it's sort of a much longer journey. So you have to design quite different capsule technology, quite different use cases. I'm not going to bore the shit out of you with all this stuff, by the way. Just the point being, we took two absolute experts in their field and asked them, what's the hardest, most complicated way that would make you really proud to do this? Which is why it took us forever. And it is the exact opposite approach of the cookie cutter supplement space of your logo here. And then I think the thing that's also been great for us as a brand is the way that we really think about stuff. Like I speak to people all the time who are like, I'm taking X supplement, really like it, should I switch to Heights? Firstly, obviously, we all know it's a trick question. They expect me to say yes, and they want me to say yes, so they could be like, ugh, that guy tried to sell me his product, so tacky. So I'm always like, you know, actually, no. One of the hardest things in supplements in general is maintaining a habit. So if someone has created a habit that they stick to every day, and it's not bad for them, it's good for them, I'm in full support of that. I think that's really good. So the way that we've thought about things at Heights, again, we weren't supplement takers, so it was like really interesting. We did our proper desk research. What do supplement takers do? And in the UK, you know, say half of people are too cynical to ever take supplements and obviously either think they don't work, which is generally true, or they don't need them, which is generally bollocks. But anyway, beyond those two things, say half the people are never ever going to be your customers. So you need to speak to the half of people who are open-minded to taking supplements, right? Those people all have good intentions about their health habits, but when we actually went and saw what they do, they buy a supplement, they get into a habit for 3 or 4 days, and then it goes in a cupboard or a drawer. So when we're at home, they're in their cupboard of shame, they used to call it. So many people referred to it, because they'd open it and they're like, oh God, January. It's September, I haven't taken any of those things since January the 14th, so fuck. So that was one thing, and other people just have it in their drawer in their office. So we were like, okay, this is amazing, because we used to be in mobile technology. So one thing we do know really well is actually how to help people build habits. So we spent ages designing a bottle that was so unique and so different that everyone was like, you're mental, why are you spending all this money on a bottle? And on capsules, if you've ever seen our capsules, you know, even they are like designed in such a unique way. They like glow. And the answer to that question is because people are proud to keep it out. And when you're proud to keep it out, you remember to take it every single day. And so the way that we think about stuff is we're here to help you take care of your brain and gut, but really it's to build habits that help you live longer. And if you get out of habits, you're not really helping yourself. So we really think through like the design aspect. I think that's also helped us go viral a few times, right? Because it just looks different to everything else.
Nice marketing. Still haven't told us what's in it. So I missed that bit.
Okay, so
people can put it in context of how it can help them.
Yeah, so Vitals is omega-3s on the outside, so DHA and EPA. And then on the inside, blueberry anthocyanins, B vitamin complex, vitamin C, vitamin D, zinc, and missing something really key. Something key that I'm missing.
You mentioned bees.
Pardon? No, not bees.
Zinc.
No, not magnesium.
No magnesium.
So on the subject of magnesium, by the way, everyone wants you to put magnesium into... every multivitamin you've ever bought magnesium in it is bollocks, because magnesium you need a lot of. Yeah. So to have a credible magnesium, and most of our customers take magnesium, I take magnesium, you need that separate. It just needs to be its own product. And most of these other things, you can get them in what's called like bioavailable forms. The more bioavailable something is, the smaller space it takes up. The more condensed it is, the more you can put other things in it. It's essentially just physics and quality. And we put no caking agents, no synthetic fillers. Our capsules are like patented slow release capsules, but they're plant-based as well. So our products are fully vegan. But with magnesium, it has to be its own product. And then our second product is a probiotic. So that's 7 strains and zinc, which really helps the uptake of it. And the thing with probiotics, which is really interesting, I think it's interesting anyway.
Tell us.
You have essentially, and to sort of, you'll get a much more scientific version of it. So I'll try and do the thing I do in my newsletter, which is, dumb it down so I understand it.
Yep.
Lots of different strains do lots of different jobs. So skin and nails, and digestion and whatever, right? So a very good basic way of thinking about it is different strains will do different jobs well. So we pick strains that do 3 specific jobs: help your immunity, your digestive system, and your mental health. And the mental health thing is particularly interesting because we were one of the first supplements in the in Europe that had specific evidence around gut-brain axis. So your gut-brain axis, your vagus nerve, it's the largest nerve in your body, and it's essentially a communication superhighway. And fundamentally, so much serotonin is connected in your gut, or is created in your gut. This strain that we have, which is called Cerebiome, has global health claims in 5 different countries, which is super rare, as you would know from any kind of non-pharmaceutical, essentially. And the job to be done with probiotics is they don't really play nice. They're live bacteria. You stick them in a capsule, they all fight for space and kill each other and die. So that's why it took so long to bring out a product, because every single time you try and formulate, it doesn't work. They kill each other, they die. You're like, shit, we're wasting so much money and never going to get to the thing. But eventually, after enough time, we did. So it's 33 billion CFUs, which essentially means live bacteria, which we've proven to make it all the way through to your gut. So it starts its journey at 65 billion CFUs, 33 billion make it to your colon alive and active, which at current time of testing, and we've spent literally £100,000 on testing competitors so far, more than any other competitor in the UK. And we're like almost running out of money because each one of these tests is 15K. So very expensive.
Why do we need probiotics? I think sometimes you have to look at this and think, well, why do I need to take a capsule with all these bacteria in it? I don't think the general person really understands that. And obviously now you're doing research, you'll be able to show outcomes, not just change in microbiome, which is what we want from these things, but actual clinical outcomes like better sleep, mood, skin.
So we've done those trials.
Okay.
So we've done those trials specifically. Again, interestingly, it's very limited what you can share in the UK on a website with any of the evidence of those trials. So just for the sake of it, we had like a US website and a professionals website, just so that we had somewhere that we could actually put this stuff up and not get our hands slapped from telling UK consumers evidence that we had, which is ridiculous. This is one of mine and Simon's favorite gripes. If we'd have known how complicated it actually is to communicate positive health information, maybe we would have chosen a different space.
No, not in the slightest.
No, mushrooms. No. I was going to say mushrooms. But yeah, anyway, so I mean, you're the health professional. You should be telling why people should be taking probiotics.
How many people here take a probiotic? Let's open it up. Okay, and all of the people that put their hands up, do you know why do you take a probiotic? Just have some. Go on.
Because from what I understand, your gut bacteria, once it starts going on a bad trajectory, it's very hard to flip it around the other way. So you sometimes need new cultures or to top up your good cultures. Basically, gives it a better chance. Your lifestyle's not perfect.
Okay, that's interesting. Why do you think we need to top it up? Just interested in consumers or people's views over.
I think it goes back to read something interesting where people who are born by cesarean don't get the probiotic. They can boost when they need when they get born, so you could start from day 1.
So it's like an insurance policy?
No, it's just a gamble that you get the right bacteria if you haven't done exact perfect thing, then maybe you need some external help.
Okay, interesting. Anyone else want to give a point of view? Why do you take a probiotic?
Well, our food's already heavily sterilised now, and we don't really get any external bacterial yeasts like we used to, foraging in nature.
Okay, so this concept that we have an ecosystem in our gut, it's like a dynamic ecosystem, not that we just have a tube from mouth to anus, but that whatever's in here is a dynamic ecosystem between, like you said, yeast, some parasites are beneficial, certain bacteria are actually beneficial, and what you don't want is an overgrowth of certain what we call pathogenic, so that's the disease-causing bacteria. So yeah, well, I think microbiome and gut health is a massive field at the moment, but what we're trying to understand is what a healthy microbiome, we know what a healthy microbiome looks like. What we know though is that a healthy microbiome in city living people is different from ones that live in the country. And so we're not at the point where we can be totally prescriptive about probiotics scientifically, but what we do know is that if you boost populations of certain good bacteria, which is what taking a supplement like Heights can do.
And being very specific on the strains or the jobs.
Yeah, but sometimes what you're taking is not what grows in the gut. I think that's what we've seen in actually studying people's poop after taking probiotics. It's like some probiotics that you eat actually have like a signaling function. They come in, they wave at other bugs and go, hey, and then the certain populations of other bugs grow and then the others go out and they kind of leave. So that's quite interesting. So yeah, it's an evolving area, but probiotics is just part of it. Obviously food first, and one of the ways to increase the diversity, that's the number and different species of bacteria, fungi, parasites that are beneficial in the gut, is just to have a range of foods. And you mentioned about sterilization and the fact that we're all, there's chemicals everywhere, everything's, covered and ultra processed. And that's not how we're meant to evolve to eat. We're meant to be exposed to certain bacteria and moldy things, which is why things like kefir and fermented foods have become so popular in trying to increase the diversity in the gut, because they contain a huge amount of different bacterial species. So, and you mentioned the gut-brain axis, which is super interesting. So we know that gut health generally is correlated with improved or reduction in mental health dysfunction and disease. And there's some really interesting mouse studies, and there's some coming human data about fecal microbial transplants, which you may have heard of, where they take donor stool, they kind of sterilize it for some of the nastier bugs, and then they paste it literally with a turkey baster, looks like it, into the colon. They give cofactors that feed those bacteria, and then they stick, and you change up your composition. So that's literally poop donation. So one of the leading centres in the world is actually in Surrey for poop donation and transplant. And some really interesting studies being done with anxiety and eating disorders on fecal microbial transplants. So there you go. These bugs have a role, don't they?
But also, fun fact, if you live with a housemate, partner, whatever, your gut microbiome will become more like theirs and each other's, which is just completely nuts. Them. Especially that, yeah.
Yeah,
I
if you're transferring your microbes.
Yeah, but I mean, maybe even if you're like just holding hands and sharing pizza.
Yeah, there's definitely.
It's quite a weird phenomenon. So yeah, anyway.
Well, it just shows
careful
that
who you share with.
We are very influenced by what's going on in our innards, which is extraordinary, and I think that's a very interesting area of research into not just taking probiotics, but also in the world of mushrooms. You can get into the world of psychedelics, which I think we're a startup entrepreneurial setting. And if I was in America, everyone is microdosing with psychedelic forms of fungi. Talk to us about that.
Well, the cameras are rolling, and I've been told that I'm not really supposed to go into the area, but I can talk.
But you have a friend called Simon.
who runs a psychedelic company in Amsterdam, right?
Simon Pepper.
Yeah, I'm Simon Salter. I get that. I got that when I was young. I think it's actually one of the most profound experiences in the research when it comes to psychedelics. Many things I'm about to share, I'm sure you'll know about. You just spoke about microdosing. Unfortunately, there's not enough research out there, but when you get the reports that come back from those who take a subperceptual amount, which is about 0.1 of a gram. So there's not, you won't see any unicorns or rainbows, but you certainly will increase your mood levels. What actually people start to do is something called stacking, and they'll use lion's mane. Now, lion's mane, I was saying before, is probably the only legal mushroom you can buy over the counter, which does perform some extraordinary experiences on the brain. We spoke about neurogenesis and neuroplasticity. I mean, the studies on lion's mane is phenomenal, but unfortunately, it's very limited. And that's one of the things when I speak about it, I find it one of the greatest tragedies, because some of the things I could share with you about how people have responded when it comes to certain mental challenges, such as anxiety and so forth, when they do drink mushrooms, certainly when they drink lion's mane, it's absolutely phenomenal that they reduce their anxiety, they have a greater sense of clarity and focus. Unfortunately, under the umbrella of Dirtea, you know, you know this, you can't really speak about it, and it's such a shame. But with psychedelics, there is a renaissance. It's quite fascinating. You go to somewhere like California and no one's drinking, everyone's having a chocolate mushroom, but there's a real true reality about that. And I think one of the most wonderful things about psychedelics, classic psychedelics being psilocybin, is the way it interacts with the body and the brain. The fact that when you do have the experience, if you do go with the right intentions, in the right environment, setting, as Terence McKenna would have said. What is fascinating is that it's not like a drug. Actually, I wouldn't even say psychedelics is a drug in any capacity at all. I don't think psilocybin, I think it's actually a medicine. But something like MDMA, it flushes out the serotonin. What a wonderful thing about psilocybin, that it upregulates your serotonin receptors. So when you do come off that experience, you know, the moment that you do reach the summit and you see the horizon, the moment you do come off that experience, there's no come down. There's only the idea of integration and how you take the experience you had and bring that into day-to-day life. And I think it's fascinating. And certainly in America, which I think about 3 years ago, the government, I think they funded around $5 million into a guy called Matthew Johnson, a clinical psychologist, who focused his attention on suppressing addiction on nicotine using psilocybin, and the results are absolutely phenomenal. Whether it be PTSD and other kind of mental challenges, it stands a test of time. Then there is a revolution. When I talk about renaissance, people do have their foot on the pedal to really bring this to a global point where there is decriminalization. I think 8 states at the moment have decriminalized psychedelics. The question really is now how do you unpackage the idea of decriminalization if you're in possession of it, if you will. I think in Europe there's a few places as well, and UK, my apologies, in maybe the next 3 to 4 years will be in the position to decriminalize it as well. I think there was certainly, if anyone, David Nutt and Robin Cartwright Harris, when there's this chart called the LD50. And forgive me, the LD50 is if you...
The lethal dose.
The lethal dose.
Yeah.
Right at the top you have, I think you've got alcohol, nicotine, cocaine. Right at the bottom, not even like a smidgen, is psilocybin. I challenge the idea that it's a drug. It's absolutely a medicine. Nothing's been synthesized in the slightest.
But he got fired for proving that.
And also he was on for Labour, but anyway, but the point really is, if I can say this, that I said in the very beginning of the conversation, my brother and I were building Dirtea on the basis of how these mushrooms changed our lives. I think we carried a weight of responsibility to share this story of the mass, taking something that has a misconception, is littered in a complicated language and an unknown, and how do you kind of simplify that and democratize it? We found a way, we called it Dirtea, we did these wonderful looking tins. They're like the only wellness products, apart from yours, Danny, that sit outside the pantry. It created a lot of social currency because people were fascinated and curious the fact that they could drink something that can make them feel better. If placebo did play a role in it, it's still okay. It's brought a conversation to a high level, and it's stepping into territories where that conversation wouldn't happen. And if I believe in the next 3 to 5 years, we'll bridge the gap with psychedelics, and I can tell you categorically we have a very big market and a very big market to turn on when that moment does happen.
Yeah. Nice. I like the idea that with mushrooms it's all about flourishing, it's all about connecting.
Well,
and,
I can.
As you mentioned, they create or they help the creation of nerve growth factor and brain-derived nerve neurotrophic factor. So they increase the connectivity in your brain.
They do. If you
The non-psychedelic ones as well. as
well,
the
I was going to say.
psychedelic
So, if
ones.
anyone does anyone enjoy the sauna by any chance? Does anyone do saunas? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and that's a good stress. I think stress is given a bad name sometimes. When you step into sauna, certainly over 16 minutes from research, what does happen in the brain is it activates BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor. This is your area. Forgive me about that language, which is a fascinating thing. Double down on it and take lion's mane into that situation. You come out and your brain is on fire. It's the most fascinating experience. And if you wanted to make it more bioavailable, having a niacin, a B3 vitamin, it creates a bit of a flush, but makes everything more bioavailable. I'm just biohacking like how a morning
We can't
should be.
do niacin anymore. There's a paper that came out very recently
Yeah.
that showed that the byproduct of niacin is actually worsening cardiovascular inflammation. So the
Okay.
the
You can edit
scientific
this part out?
community are...
Okay. Okay.
It literally
Keep
came
it-
out.
I didn't edit her disclaimer.
Yeah.
So no,
okay,
no more
yeah.
niacin saunas, people, until the research is more favourable.
I think that so the only thing, so the other part to why Dirtea exists is how do you take this also into everyone's lifestyle? My apologies, prior to coming here, I wasn't entirely sure. It said entrepreneur. I assume everyone here is a founder of a company or is building a company. Is that correct, or am I getting that completely wrong? So
you're looking for ways to support your brain and focus and sleep better and
yeah, why I believe, and
reduce anxiety.
I've been living it, and certainly Danny and I pretty much started the business at the same time. And I think the success of our business is what's been at the priority at the heart of it is been this and this. And I've been studying prevention for many years, and mushrooms has been the heart of it. And the only way that we've been able to build the business is we've been, my brother and I, you'll see him, he's biblical looking, he's got more hair than I ever will in this lifetime, but he and I have always put our health first, and mushrooms has certainly taught us that. When you're building the business, what I'm saying, like, I'm not pushing the idea to buy mushrooms, just play with the idea, because if you want to feel healthy and you have a responsibility of building a business, these are one of the greatest beacons to allow you to adapt to these stresses, and it really is a wonderful thing.
Or to buffer some of the stress, because you're all pushing yourselves, and I think the idea that you buffer some of it and don't keep just pushing on through, and as I said, then you'll get to 40 and it will all be downhill, because we do accumulate a lot of the damage, and what we put ourselves through in our 30s starts to only be obvious in certain diseases, autoimmune disease, heart disease, all sorts of things that start cropping up in your early 40s. So, there's many people that who are working super hard, and there are deadlines and etc. But taking time for yourself to sort of plug yourself into the mains and recharge is super important to prevent burnout. And all of us here on stage have had some version of burnout. So we're coming at this from love and saying that it's actually much more expensive to pick up the pieces and rebuild yourself than to put in a little bit of insurance policy up front, which is taking time, prioritizing not every night of the week, but certain nights, 3 nights a week where you really have good recuperative deep rest, doing practices like breath work, sauna, sort of what we call eudaimonic activities that really increase your level of serotonin, dopamine, endorphins, and that has a protective effect not just on your physical health, but the combination of both, and that's super important in protecting you long term.
I mean, everyone's always too busy to look after their health, and everyone always asks me, like, what's my number one thing, expecting me to say supplements, but it's my daily walk.
Yeah.
Do 10,000 steps every day without fail, rain or shine, and it's like so important. And I think sometimes my view on this anyway is, as someone who it'd be great to go to a sauna and do the ice bath and do all of those things, they become, in really busy lifestyles, they become situational often, and then like things you'd love to do, but fuck, I'm a bit busy or whatever. Versus like for me, I'm like, I try and think about what are the things I can't make excuses for, right? Like I don't have a sauna in my house, so how am I going to just go?
Well, you could do a hot bath. I mean, it's still having the heat stress. So that's
totally,
what
and I'm not saying we shouldn't do those things.
Yeah.
I'm just saying but also like the simple healthy hacks that are like, you're never too busy to go for a walk. You think you are, but actually in reality, everyone can go for a walk, and it doesn't have to be 10,000 steps, right? It can be 15 minutes.
Well, you can do your calls, like walk talks are increasingly popular, walking meetings. like changing the way we work and the way we live in offices, essentially, like working on lighting, making what they call circadian lighting, so that
Not
it doesn't
this lighting, she's saying.
shut off your, so keep you awake with all the blues. So many offices are going to circadian wave lighting, so that increases your morning cortisol and then tapers you off towards the end of the day. Also social wellness settings where people, you know, you can go at lunchtime, there's many places popping up that does sauna, cold, breathing.
Can I say that
Go for it.
this is more? It's more of an invitation because I don't know if it's
Serpentine.
coming to the end. But yeah, this is more of an open invitation. But has anyone swam in a lake before? Cold lake? Would anyone be up for it here? Just to prove social connection in the unknown, in the cold. Would anyone be up for
It's
coming?
just
Yeah.
a 6:30 and soggy Hyde
Well,
Park.
I'm saying 2 reasons. I just kind of wanted to challenge Danny on a few things, but it's only because I think time can be an enemy. Is time an enemy at the moment?
And we're going to do some questions because...
Okay, fine. Don't worry. I won't say it. It's fine. We can do questions.
Well, we're not going now, are we?
Oh, okay. Huh?
We're not going down to the Serpentine
No,
now.
I just want
There's a queue. Get in the back of the queue now. There's so many people
It's a
wanting to do the
pop-up ice
Serpentine
bar.
at 6:30.
I just wanted to challenge the idea of time. I think time's perceived as an enemy sometimes.
We'd like to take some questions though from
Yeah.
people if you want to ask us anything specifically or you want to comment. It's always hard to get started. Go for it.
So how do you use bioinformatics in your business?
How do you what? Sorry.
Use bioinformatics?
Bioinformatics, Dan.
Do you use it?
Fascinating word. No.
I think you're saying like wearable data or
Is that what
questionnaire
you mean?
data
Wearable
or
data.
blood biomarkers or...
So I nearly did a PhD in design of drugs,
Yeah.
where I'd be testing bacteria out in silico. So I'd virtualize all the kind of calculations and so on. And so it cost a lot less than running experiments in wet labs.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm wondering if you do anything similar to...
We just use
Wow.
third-party labs. So, like for a probiotic, for example, the #1 lab in the world is called ProDigest, and that's kind of our thing. It's like there's a lot of this. There's a very ironic thing, right? If we had our own lab and did our own testing and we had amazing results, guess how many people would believe it? So we go to the most expensive lab, and the one where all the top brands and all the best probiotics spend the most amount of money. And even though we're a startup, like at least you can say, like, and stand. Basically, the reason you do this again is for the medical professionals. So they want to know what conditions and what lab results and everything else. So I don't do anything other than sign the check and cry a little bit on how much these things are. But this is kind of the catch-22 when you're running a startup. Like, actually, if you do well, no one believes you, so you've kind of got to pay the money to go into like the premium space as well.
Someone at the back? Hi.
Yeah, I'm curious. You said that you were saying that you think that drugs can help cope with stress at work in a workplace environment. Because I lived in San Francisco and I live in Denver now, and so I live in places where drugs is rampant, and I've never seen it made a positive influence, especially in California, San Francisco. No. But
Are they all like just high all the time on...
Are you talking, so I didn't know. I didn't know.
And then it leads to more crime. It leads to so much more than just, and I've never seen. I live in Colorado now, where weed is legal, and still everybody just takes it as, it's just something that copes. So it's like, to me, it seems like that helps you temporarily deal with something instead of actually finding a way to deal with it and move past it. Just
there's definitely. I think I can answer that. I think there's a challenge on it. When I speak about the decriminalization of classic psychedelics of psilocybin, was that what you meant?
Yeah.
Well, the way they're using those states is for medical reasons, that people would use it with intentions.
No, they don't use it for medical.
Well, I mean, initially, yeah, but there's never been a case of any negative connotation in the spirit of like using classic psychedelics as psilocybin. Is that what you mean?
I think it's the weed.
The weed? Oh, I've got nothing to do with that. I know nothing about that.
A lot of people take mushrooms because they feel like it can help them deal with like a stressful situation and change their mindset. But then it's like it's only temporarily changing the problem, and then at the end of the day, that problem is still going to be there. You're not really.
It's just changing their response to the problem.
You're absolutely right,
Yeah.
by the way. You're absolutely right, which is why it's fundamentally important that there's this integration process when you do go through it. Like, you can't
I think
stop.
he's talking about microdosing in offices.
Oh, microdosing.
Like so many people are
You
just
can't-
high all the time.
You can't be. You don't actually get high in microdosing. It's not enough. It's subperceptual. So it just increases your mood levels.
So it's all about the dose and the intention
Dose-
is
yeah,
what you're
dose-
coming
yeah,
at it from.
yeah,
And I
but
think you're
understand what you're
saying
but this is,
everyone's just high there all the time and just not dealing with their problems, right? Yeah.
Okay, yeah, but sorry, you're right. Yeah, you're 100% right. We're
Don't
gonna
worry,
challenge
in
that.
London we're perfect.
Yeah.
So that's just America. Don't worry about it.
We just like very consciously brush things under the carpet here in England.
Yeah, stiff upper lip. We've got no problems.
Go for it. No, sorry.
Yeah.
Hi. Yeah.
You both come from slightly different extremes, I guess, in some ways, because, I mean, like Simon, you're focusing on extracts, which obviously have vast quantities of different chemicals, and then obviously you're looking at more, also extracts, but also obviously you're looking more individual vitamins and certain elements. I mean, obviously there's a lot of overlap between both areas, but are you ever worried that people might actually just start looking at particular compounds in the mushrooms? I know there's a lot of research done to these, which are the particular key compounds, and look at synthesizing those to put into supplements. So I mean, there's a certain ritual that comes with having a mushroom extract, something that's obviously ground down from nature's source as opposed to chemically synthesized in the lab. I was just wondering what you both thought of those two opposite ends of, say, or other sides of the coin in a way.
So the way that, so just first of all, when we extract from the fruiting body of the mushroom, and the process pulls all the goodness, all the nutrients and minerals, but beyond that, there's different compounds that are found in them. And the interesting thing is each mushroom has a very different compound that interacts with the body very differently. And you can use them. The only reason we use it as a tea is we wanted to kind of bring it to the market in a way that people wouldn't have to overthink the idea. They can add it to their coffee, they can add it to their favourite blend, just hot water, and just drink it. But you can actually, it is a versatile experience. We do have super blends, we are bringing out capsules, we are differing. There's a lot of new product development we are bringing out, so it can be used. Is that what you mean? If I get the right way? Yeah. So it's not just the teas it can be used in. It can be used as tinctures as well.
Also, there's a lot of work, I guess, people trying to extract certain compounds and chemically synthesize them. Obviously, it would be a lot cheaper if they can work out what the compounds exactly are.
If it's cheaper?
No, about to actually chemically synthesize the actual ingredients in
I
mushrooms.
think what they're finding in the research, though, is that the synthesized psilocybin isn't as effective as taking psilocybin because of the, I know I'm going to sound woo here, but the sort of the frequency of the actual living substance. There's something in that, and the fact that we are very complex but systemic bodies, and one single molecule is going to have may have a raft of effects, but if you take multiple compounds together, that's going to have a stronger physiological effect on your body than an isolated component.
But on the functional side, you can take them all together. It doesn't cancel each other out.
No.
If anything, gives you
I think also on the experience of like powder versus capsule or whatever, like any entrepreneur should focus on who is my customer and what problem am I solving for my customer. Like fundamentally, I say to all of our customers, like, here's the perfect diet. Like, we started off writing. I thought we were going to make a gusto, but for like brain health. Turns out I'm a shit cook, so didn't. But like, we create so many recipes and everything. Like, here, don't take our supplement. Go have the perfect diet. Try it 1 day, 2 days. You'll see how actually difficult it is to eat what you need. But if you have the time, space, energy, wherewithal, desire, all of the things, you don't need supplements. Like, the clue is in the name. It's called a fucking supplement, right? It's literally a supplement to your healthy lifestyle.
But we arguably have become a lot more unhealthy.
Totally.
Even in the day-to-day.
Like, almost everyone needs them, but the reality is, like, you can totally get it all from your whole food diet. You'll be very full and you'll spend a lot of time doing it, but you can do it.
Expense.
Yeah, totally, and expense and all the things, but you can do it. So like, it's about understanding your customer. Our customer is a typical busy person, right? We actually call them a busy betterer. They're someone who's looking to improve their lives and they're busy, and we accept that about them. And so we design our products for them that way. And I think it's quite a sort of a different process. So worrying about this format or that format, or if that competitor does it this way or whatever. It's fine. It's like a big space. There's a lot of human beings in the world, and I think like entrepreneurs should really focus on like who they're trying to speak to and how you're trying to make their lives better. Because if you try and do it for everyone, you'll definitely make no one's life better.
We'll sync. We're going to have one more question, then we're finished. Sorry.
Yeah.
I think you.
Yeah, sorry, I saw your hand shoot up as
Yeah.
well. Yeah.
No, just I don't know if it's connected to your bioinformatics question, because I still don't understand what that means. But and also you mentioned placebo, and we've spoken about probiotics. So how do you measure whether or not it's working, whether the supplement is efficacious? Is it a subjective experience? Is there a way that we can actually measure that you're? So you use a vegan fish oil versus a real fish. Yeah. Vegan means it's
algae.
It's algae.
So fun fact:
So you need a lot more
no
of
fish. Like all fish. Sorry, everyone thinks that omega-3s come from fish. They do. Fish don't synthesize their own omega-3 naturally in nature. They get it from the algae that they eat. So we cut out the middle fish. That's like that's where they get it from. That's where you're getting it from. It's the purest source. But to answer your question, what we do at Heights, there's two types of things called in vivo and in vitro studies. That means in lab and in human. And we do the normal stuff, which is the wearables, the psychometrics. The wearable stuff is arguably less, there's some science there, but it's still somewhat subjective to an extent. The other stuff that people usually measure is very subjective, because they are the usual, how are you feeling? And, you get amazing data that way, but obviously I'm always cynical on it because it's not hard data. The thing that we've done that's very expensive, very timely, and very valuable are things like blood trials and poop tests. But they are more complicated. And the problem with them, ironically, when it comes then get down to communicating benefits to consumers, when we found out that 90% of our of the people in our trial, had a higher rate of omega-3s before and after, blah, blah, blah. It's not language that consumers care about or know about. So we have the data, we spent fortunes on that kind of research and learned that people just want to know, will I sleep a bit longer?
Will I live a bit longer? Will
Totally.
I be
all of
less
these
likely to develop
all of these
X, Y,
things,
Z?
yeah. So
but that takes very expensive longitudinal data,
does, yeah.
which
you have to be doing with the universities, and you have to be in it for the long run.
Exactly. It's very tricky with supplements because, the standard ones you can measure in the blood, the B vitamins, but, the omega ratio you can measure on a cheap blood test these days to see if you've got enough omega-3 in your blood. B vitamins, certain other things like bilberry and blueberry extract would be harder to. You'd have to do total antioxidant status. You can also measure in the blood. All of these things are available, but, companies aren't routinely offering all of these tests because unfortunately they're still quite expensive. Yeah. If you do them here privately, it's a couple of £100 just for these tests. Right, we've been given the nod.
Oh, right, brilliant. Well, let's give all of our speakers a round of applause.